So how are you doing? My name is Sam Feldman. I am a student at ASU in the Marvin Andrews Fellowship. That doesn't matter, but it is downtown, so I would miss downtown Phoenix if it went away. But what I want to tell you a little bit about today is water in Phoenix, water policy. Well, not technically, don't worry. But water is really important to us. It's our story. That's me as about 4 years old swimming in a pool in Phoenix. Probably the last time I took my shirt off in public, so enjoy it for what it is. But we are intimately connected. But we forget that we remind ourselves all the time that we have scarcity, and we forget that we also have abundance. This is a great image of that. We hide our canals, which signify our abundance, and behind these tan, dark walls with desert landscaping behind them. And we just forget that water is such an important part of why we live here today. This is what we used to do on the canals, legitimately, all the time, water skiing, right on top of them with a truck driving right behind. Nowadays, it's a lot bleaker of a picture, and we can imagine how that affects our psyche. We think there's less water because we see less water. It's a pretty obvious connection. And I've spent a lot of time doing some research on this, and we've came up with some multiple things. One of them is to activate these canals, and that's Canalscape, and you can find out more on Twitter, I guess, about that. But I want to talk just about how do we use water now. These are some traditional uses we all know. Of course, we all think about those when we think about water. But there are non-traditional uses, and those are just as important. And we think that we call these wasting water, but they're not. There is no waste of water. We use it in certain ways. What we do is we make choices, and the choices we make are really important. And so, for example, we can water a golf course, which takes about 312,000 gallons per day. A family of 4 might take 560, the kind of a random statistic out there. But a water fountain could only take 10 gallons a day or less, depending on how you design it. So I want to talk about that, how we can bring water back into our downtown Tempe or downtown Phoenix, even our own homes and restaurants and businesses. And it's a reminder that we do have abundance. We have this water, beautiful water, sitting right outside of our window that can serve so many functions outside of our drinking and cooking. And it's important to do that because water is what gives us life. It's what allows us to live in this desert environment. So I want to talk about the 5 aesthetics: sound, sight, touch, smell, taste, and I'm going to add one in at the end. But those are really important to how we design water features. So if you're going to go out there and do it, those are the things you should pay attention to. Sound, of course, I think is the most important. There's so many options. It can be gentle like this is, or a roaring, crashing sound, or rain, the pitter-patter, or heavy rain even. There's a lot of options there. Primarily, you need to know your sight, what's going to fit in there. For vision, for sight, in a different sense, the way we look at the water. Water quality is important, and what color: green, blue, clear. The materials, copper gets that great, sort of aging patina, and that's wonderful. We got to pay attention to touch. How are people going to experience your water using touch, using their hands and fingers and feet? And it naturally cools you when you feel water on your skin. Evaporative cooler uses that same technique, and we can do that naturally, though. And of course, smell is really important. Sometimes we've smelled canal water, and it's just horrible. But normally, it's not. So planting smart is a great way to sort of overcome some of those problems at times. And of course, the last one is a little strange: taste. I'm not sure how you're going to incorporate that, but you might try. How can we incorporate maybe drinking fountains into our water features, into water fountains? These are such steel, hot. I mean, the hottest thing in Arizona is sometimes the water fountain, which is just kind of depressing if you think about it. And of course, this is the 6th aesthetic: meaning, interpretation. What does it mean? What does your fountain mean? This is Phoenix City Hall. Has got a wonderful fountain that tells all about sort of the history of water in Phoenix in a progressive way. And you want to talk about that. Your fountain has to be designed that way. You can use sort of a seasonal method, like this is Wells Fargo right next to Phoenix City Hall, where about 2 months of the year they turn it into sort of a cheesy Christmas decoration. But it tells the story of Phoenix. Here we have water sometimes, and we don't have water other times. We also want to make sure they're sustainable. Rain, wind meters, that's a wind meter on the top at Phoenix City Hall. Time for when people are going to be around it, or turning off and on if you're the one enjoying it. And also maybe it's rain dependent. Of course, you want to consider water loss. That's the best part of this whole thing. When we see a water fountain, there's a 30-degree effect on the microclimate in their area. About half of that's psychological, and the other half is purely just feeling water on your skin. So remember our place. We live in a desert. We have water all around us. We're not just scarce, we're also abundant. And go out there and build water features would be the best thing that I could get out of this. So thanks all.